Hey everyone, Andregats here and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a really quick guide on how to farm a lot of infinite power in Legion Remix, and before you say anything, I know I've already made a video covering all the ways to earn infinite power, but I didn't really talk much about Mythic Plus. Naturally, as I began stacking more points into that infinite trade, limits unbound, and eventually getting stronger, I figured it was finally time to jump into some Mythic Plus. And oh boy, they're the absolute best. So today I'm sharing all the tips and tricks that help me get the most out of my runs. And even if you don't want to farm infinite power, stick around because there are some really cool rewards that you can grab from Mythic Plus. So let's get right into it. First of all, this works best if you can form a full 5-man party, as it will save you a ton of time. So what I did was form a 5-man group with guildies. You can technically solo keys if you are strong enough, like, I don't know, maybe 300 plus limits unbound, but honestly that requires a lot of farm. I would say soloing is off the table, but it's still a bit tricky for most people, so I'm not going to focus on that. Instead, what I would recommend is forming a 5-man group, or maybe 4? You also don't need a healer or a tank. This can actually work really well with a full-on DPS group. Luckily for us, both DPS and healers, specifically in dungeons, got some nice buffs recently, which made them a bit tankier and overall build up their survivability. So running all DPS ended up being the fastest way to clear them. It worked perfectly fine for us, though we were all above 130 limits unbound. It kinda goes without saying, but the more infinite power, or IP as I like to call it, so the more IP you have, the more points you'll put into the limits unbound, and the faster you'll tear through the dungeons. Now, what is the holy grail of key levels? Well, that depends on your power and gear and your setup as a group. But to make things easier, I will go ahead and say that the best key level to farm right now is a plus 30. Why? Well, for one, it's fast if your group is around eye level 740 and has at least 130 points into the limits unbound. It also gives a good amount of mementos. For example, a plus 30 Halls of Valor gave us 56 mementos, and so did Lower Karazhan. A plus 33 Eye of Ajara gave us 64 mementos, but it also took a bit longer. Essentially, timing any 2 keys of plus 30 gets you around 100 mementos, and depending on how high you have your infinite knowledge, you'll get the appropriate amount of IP. For example, with 32 infinite knowledge, I get more than 100k IP, so around 4 to 5 points of limits unbound. A plus 39 arcway gave us 115 mementos, but we did that with a normal setup, so with a tank and a healer, and it did actually cost quite a lot of time. But anyway, arcway is another story, which we'll get there in just a second. Obviously, the more infinite trades we unlock, the higher keys we'll be able to clear in the same amount of time and get better rewards. For now though, sticking to plus 30 keys seems like the best plan to farm IP fast. Undoubtedly, the key level plays a huge role when it comes to farming infinite power, but so does the dungeon itself, since it directly affects your overall time. Some dungeons are just way better for speedrunning than others. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the dungeon timer and the number of bosses both influence how many mementos you get. For example, Arcway has a generous 45-minute timer and 5 bosses, which makes it one of the best dungeons for farming mementos. The actual bosses are relatively easy to kill, and only the final one has a boring intermission. And a great tip that I've also tested out with my guildies is that you can take full advantage of your group by using the divide and conquer strategy. What I mean is that you can split the group and take down different bosses at the same time. You can absolutely do that in Arcway, and then you can just meet up at the final boss. Of course, Arcway isn't the only dungeon where this works. In Halls of Valor, for instance, half of us went left to Herja, while the other half went to Fenrir, and we ended up finishing the dungeon in nearly half the time. It does have a bit of RP that slows things down a little, but overall splitting the group is one of the most time-efficient methods that you can do in Mythic Plus, assuming that the group is strong and relatively equal in power. Ideally, everyone in your group should have a key ready so you can compare them and decide which one to run next. You can reroll your key at the end of each successful run as long as it's the same or lower level than the one you just ran. What we did was everyone had a plus 30 key on hand and we rolled the dice after each run, hoping to get arcway. Of course, keys and pretty much everything else in this game is random, so you won't always get arcway no matter how much you pray to the RNG gods. Even when we push our keys higher, we always downgraded back to plus 30 since it gave the perfect balance between time and rewards. Speaking of rewards, why should you even bother running keys in Little Remix? I hear you asking. Wow, I mean, if you ask that now in this video, oh, you waited long enough. Well, for starters, keys are super fun. But let's be real, we don't just do things for fun in this game. Nuh-uh, we do them for rewards. What I found out is that 2 plus 30 keys will net you at least 100 mementos, which is a really good chunk of IP. Even if you don't care much about getting stronger in Remix, since it's all temporary anyway, one could fairly argue that there is no point in this. Well, there is another big reason to do them: unlocking the hero achievements and dungeon teleports. Timing a plus 30 grants the hero achievement, which, just like in retail, gives you a teleport to that dungeon if one exists. Some exceptions apply though. For example, Ivajara doesn't give a teleport. I guess because we already have a teleport to Azuna? I mean, I don't know what's the reason. For Mega dungeons as well, like Karazhan, you'll need to complete both wings to unlock the teleport. So you will have to time both upper and lower Karazhan in plus 30 in order to unlock the teleport to the Karazhan tower. That said, if you are still missing Legion teleports or haven't unlocked any yet, this is a super easy way to do it. In retail, earning these teleports is quite the grind, while here in Legion Remix it only takes about 10 minutes with a decent gear group. So why not make the most out of your time in Remix and unlock a few? Also keep in mind that if you use a dungeon teleport and then time another key, all your dungeon teleports reset, meaning that you can use them again right away. We are not done with the rewards yet. If you didn't know, timing a plus 30 also awards the red Sargerai set, the Hellforged Regalia, and these, like the other 3 versions, are exclusive to Legion Remix. In other words, this set will not be obtainable once Remix ends, so definitely grab it while you can. You don't really want to miss out on it like the Mage Tower skins, right? Sorry, let's forget it. Okay, so this is possibly the hardest of all 4 Sarger ensembles, but as I have explained so far, it's really not that difficult. Just find some 740 bodies, put in a bit of time, and you can time a plus 30, easy peasy. I'm 740 myself, and it's not like I've played that much on my main remix character. I've leveled a few others and took my time getting my main to the highest possible gear. And I know what you are thinking now, but Andre, I'm not 740, I don't have time. If you didn't make it to 740, well, everything I did to get there is explained in great detail in my gearing guide. But the main takeaway is that you don't need to know live the game to reach this point. With a bit of consistency, daily raid farming, you'll get to decent gear and power. Speaking of gear and power, if you want to push further, you absolutely can. Like I said, keys are fun, and what's more fun is actually trying to push them higher. But I know most of you want rewards, and rewards you shall have. One in particular stands out. If you manage to complete a plus 14 time, you'll unlock an exclusive title, the Infernal. I think it's a really cool title to have, and in fact it goes really well with my Zalis feat. We managed to time a plus 40, and similar to our plus 39 run, using a normal comp of 3 in DPS, 1 tank and 1 healer. We didn't want to risk it with an all DPS group, and that was probably a wise choice. We timed it with only 3 minutes to spare, and the mobs had a lot of extra health and damage, so we really had to do the mechanics correctly or we will wipe. To make my point clear, a plus 40 Chord of Stars only gave us 66 mementos, which wasn't worth the time at all. It took almost half an hour because of the mob's high health and unlimited damage. Once we gain more IP and become stronger and do more damage, it might be worth doing higher than plus 30. But for now, if you are around 100 to 200 points into your limits unbound, just stick to farm plus 30s. For us it took around 10 minutes or even less to time a plus 30, so I will say it's actually quite worth it. And that's pretty much all. Like I've said, and if you are new to my channel, I have a detailed guide on gearing and other ways to earn infinite power for all kinds of players. But today I wanted to focus more on Mythic Plus. I genuinely find it to be really fun content right now, and I mean, we've been running raids for a while, and as much IP they give, they're starting to feel a bit stale, so this has been a great change of pace. With all that said, I highly recommend giving Mythic Plus a try, even if it's totally outside your comfort zone. They're chaotic, fast-paced, and honestly some of the most fun I've had in Remix so far. It's no surprise that this past week more keys have been timed in Remix than in retail. I'm curious though, what's the highest key you have managed to time? Were you running with a full group or did you solo it? And if you haven't jumped into all the Mythic Plus shenanigans yet, did this video convince you to give it a real shot? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for sticking around until the very end, and drop a like if you have found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for more WoW coverage and hit the bell to stay up to date. Good luck with whatever you are doing, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!